Hello everyone and welcome to Advent Broadcast Network news segment this week. We are going to be covering a number of stories from around the world, including how Adventist organizations are joining forces to help with the pandemic in India, the new bridge linking Botswana and Zambia, South Africa picking up its first cases of coronavirus variant from India, among other stories. Stay tuned to the end. Do not forget to leave your like, drop your comments, and share the video. I will be your host for today, Jane Wena. Adventist organizations join forces to assist pandemic-ravaged India and Brazil. Leaders of several Seventh-day Adventist organizations are joining forces to provide urgent assistance to India and Brazil. In a May 4th, 2021 action, the Administrative Committee of the General Conference, the GC ADCOM, voted to release contingency funds and ramp up the coordination of efforts by various church organizations to assist those two pandemic-ravaged nations. Adventist leaders explained that several church organizations have already been assisting many countries affected by the lingering COVID-19 pandemic. ADRA in India has launched several projects in partnering with the Seventh-day Adventist Church Health System in India. Initial estimates in financial support, program strengthening, and in-kind totals to about $250,000, they reported. Since the pandemic began, the ADRA COVID-19 response to India has totaled more than $1,210,000, with another $1 million expected in the coming weeks. Assistance to India thus far has included one oxygen generation plant for Surat Seventh-day Adventist Hospital and 3,000 personal protective equipment kits to Adventist hospitals in Bangalore, Pune, and Newsvid. ADRA India also partnered to provide 20 oxygen concentrators to those 3 hospitals and specific support to 4 vaccination centers for 3 months in Delhi. The General Conference Administrative Committee's action provides that the General Conference, in partnership with the Adventist Health Ministries Department and Adventist Health International, based in Loma Linda University Health, will assign a combined $200,000 from the GC World Contingency Fund and other sources to be distributed proportionately among 11 Adventist hospitals across India. Besides the healthcare institutions assisted by ADRA India, these funds will support the battle against the pandemic in Adventist hospitals. The May 4th action also includes applying $75,000 from the GC World Contingency Fund for 3 large Adventist hospitals in Brazil. These healthcare institutions located in Rio de Janeiro, Manaus, and Belém have been significantly affected by the last wave of the pandemic. Leaders noted that COVID-19 cash relief distributed to Adventist healthcare facilities and World Division Health Endeavors has exceeded $1 million over the past 9 months, not including the amounts voted this week. These initiatives have been funded by the General Conference Adventist Health International, General Conference Health Ministries, Medical Missions Funds, and a special donation by the Chinese Union Mission, that is in cash and masks. According to the church leaders, recipients have applied the funds and reported back to supporting and donating entities. Since April 22nd, India has reported more than 300,000 cases every day, according to CNN updates based on the figures released by the Indian Health Ministry. On May the 6th, it recorded 412,262 new COVID-19 cases, a new single-day record. As of May 6th, authorities have identified more than 21 million cases, 8.3 million of them in the past 30 days. India also reported almost 4,000 deaths on May 6th, the ninth consecutive day that the number of fatalities exceeded 3,000. In a statement released on May the 6th, General Conference President Ted N.C. Wilson asked Adventist leaders and members around the world to pray for the Lord to work through Adventist hospitals and healthcare professionals to bring relief from the devastating pandemic. This was reported by the Adventist News Network. A Seventh-day Adventist restaurant renews its image and gets ready for an opening. Since its inception, Infusion Hope has been a space recognized by the Temuco community in Chile. It is a healthy food restaurant that is strategically placed along the most commercial avenue of Temuco in order to stand out in the southern gastronomic market. Infusion Hope is focused on promoting vegetarian food and a healthy life in tune with our Lord. It is a place that goes beyond offering a hot drink or a place of food. Infusion Hope aims to offer hope in Jesus. As defined on their website, they are a non-profit vegetarian restaurant of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, created with the purpose of inspiring and teaching others to lead a healthier lifestyle. We believe that eating healthy is vital to be able to keep in touch with God. We like to enjoy life, share hope. Here you will always be welcome, and that's what the website says. In recent weeks, the vegetarian restaurant has been remodeled in several ways in order to have a renewed space for its guests who have not been able to personally visit due to the measures typically of these pandemic times. We spoke with Felipe Rifo, part of the Infusion Hope team, who commented on some of the changes, starting with the logo. Infusion Hope has also undergone changes in its physical building. The paint and colors have changed to more uplifting, and the terrace has also been remodeled, as reported by Adventist Review. Infusion Hope has renovated and upgraded this healthy food space in order to captivate its customers with the diversity of products at the end of the pandemic, when God allows it. In the meantime, you can experience Infusion Hope through delivery services such as Order Now, Uber Eats, and Rappi. The bridge linking Botswana and Zambia is finally opened. A new bridge over the Zambezi River linking Botswana and Zambia has been officially opened and should boost trade in the region. At a cost of more than $250 million, the Kazungula Road and Rail Bridge was paid for by the African Development Bank and a loan from the Japanese government. Before it was built, cargo had to be unloaded from the lorries and taken across on barges. Truck drivers can also now avoid long waits at Zimbabwe's border. Other countries in the region should get an economic boost, as it will speed up trade between South Africa's ports and countries to the north, including Democratic Republic of Congo, and there is a reason why it's carved. The former president of Zimbabwe, Robert Mugabe, was opposed to the project. So in order to avoid encroaching on Zimbabwean territory, the bridge couldn't be built in a straight line. The article shares tools about how the bridge was built, and the pictures show how beautiful it is. Over 85 people are killed after the bomb attack targeting schoolgirls in Afghanistan. CBN News reports that at least 85 people, mostly young girls, were murdered in a weekend attack on a school in Kabul, Afghanistan. Officials reported that another 147 people were wounded. Grieving families buried their loved ones on Sunday, while some parents continue searching hospitals and makeshift morgues for their children. Many of the victims were between the age of 11 and 15. A car bomb exploded in front of the Sayed al-Shahuda school Saturday as the scared students fled the building. Then 2 more bombs went off. Residents in the western neighborhood of Dasht Barchi expressed their frustration at the government, saying officials have failed to protect them from the attacks. One of them said that the government reacts after the incident. It does not do anything before the incident. Mohammed Bakir Alizada, whose niece died during the attack, said, "The community is made up of Shiite Muslims from an ethnic minority which has been attacked in the past by the Sunni terrorist Islamic State group." One witness said he ran over to help frightened students as multiple bombs went off. No one has claimed responsibility for the attacks, but at least one government official is blaming the Taliban. The Taliban, which denies responsibility, has stepped up attacks across the country after the U.S. announced it was pulling all military forces out of the country by September 11th. The Tanzanian new president ditches late predecessor's rejection of masks. Tanzania's new president, Samia Suluhu Hassan, on Friday stressed the importance of face masks in fighting COVID-19, ditching one of the most controversial policies of her late coronavirus skeptic predecessor. Hassan took office in March after the death of John Magufuli, who had urged Tanzanians to shun masks and denounce vaccines as a Western conspiracy, to the frustration of the World Health Organization. Last month, she formed a committee to research whether Tanzania, which under Magufuli stopped reporting coronavirus data, should follow the course that the rest of the world has taken against the pandemic. On Friday, wearing a face mask herself and flanked by senior government and security officials also in masks, Hassan addressed prominent community elders in the commercial capital of Dar es Salaam. And this is what she had to say: "We have come with face masks before because elders are in a group of people who are at a high risk of contracting the prevailing disease." She added that we have found it is important to protect you. One of those present was Health Minister Dorothy Gwajima, who, while Magufuli was president, urged Tanzanians to embrace steam inhalation, traditional medicines, and even vegetable smoothies to protect themselves against COVID-19. Sudanese search for oxygen cylinders as COVID third wave swells. Sudan is struggling to provide hospital beds, drugs, and medical oxygen to COVID-19 patients hit by a third wave of infections that is straining the country's patchy health care system beyond what it can cope with. With a population of over 40 million, Sudan has recorded 33,000 cases and over 2,600 deaths since the start of the pandemic, but officials say the real numbers are likely to be much higher given low rates of testing. In recent weeks, an acute shortage of oxygen, partly due to power cuts that impeded production at the country's main plant, has left hospitals unable to provide adequate care to desperately ill COVID patients. Social media is awash with desperate pleas for help from relatives seeking beds, drugs, and oxygen cylinders for their loved ones. Officials say about 300 ventilators are available in the country, a number that is nowhere near what would be needed to respond to the current emergency. A government study showed 38% of the oxygen cylinders had been smuggled out of the health system for certain patients to use at home. Some patients bribed hospital staff for the cylinders, while others relied on personal relationships. At times of peak coronavirus infections, the crisis of the weak capacity of hospitals in providing beds for patients, providing oxygen cylinders and ventilators becomes clear, said Montasir Othman, director of the Emergency and Epidemic Control Department of the Sudanese Ministry of Health. Last month, officials said Sudan could meet just 40% of its need for medicines. The country has 37 hospitals that can take in COVID patients, but only 11 of them are in the capital, Khartoum, even though it has more than 70% of the cases. Hussein Malasi, a senior manager at the Sudanese liquid gas company, said that under normal circumstances, the firm could produce enough medical oxygen to meet the country's needs, but the country lacks the cylinders needed to transport it. Authorities say they are urgently facilitating imports of about 1,250 more cylinders to meet patients' needs. The shortage of oxygen is wider, and wider failings of the health system are a symptom that a deep malaise in Sudan, which has been stuck in an economic crisis for years. Following the cessation of the oil-producing South in 2011 and decades of international isolation due to the U.S. sanctions, the country lacks the foreign reserves needed to procure medicines and other medical supplies abroad. Authorities complain that only 160,000 have received the first dose of AstraZeneca vaccine, much less than 400,000 expected by the end of April, due to widespread skepticism and misinformation. The Zimbabwean Adventist leadership joins Interfaith vaccine promotion effort. The Adventist Church in Zimbabwe has joined an interfaith effort to encourage the COVID-19 vaccine rollout in the country. The Adventist leaders joined officials from Christian, Islamic, and African traditional religions in a dialogue with UNICEF and the Ministry of Health and Child Care. In partnership with Apostolic Women Empowerment Trust, AWET, UNICEF's Global Faith and for Positive Change initiative recognizes the central role and influence of religious leaders in behavior and social change communication. Through the partnership of AWET, over 850 interfaith and community leaders have been trained to support engaging and mobilizing their communities about integrated COVID-19 prevention and continuity of essential health, nutrition, education, child protection, and WASH services. The initiative aims to reach 5 million people across all provinces of Zimbabwe. The dialogue allowed the religious leaders to reflect on misinformation, distrust, as well as social, religious, and cultural barriers keeping people from vaccination. One of them said that understanding and addressing these barriers is key for our partnership with local faith actors, increasing their abilities to counter false claims or address religious questions or other sensitive topics, said AWET National Director Tendani Gudo, according to Newsday. With this knowledge, I am going to play a leading role in challenging misinformation circulating through our congregation platforms and social media space by promoting trust in accurate information sources such as Ministry of Health and Child Care and UNICEF. One Phyllis Munungo said, an Adventist representative, about the interfaith dialogue. A man in Colorado kills 6 people, then kills himself at a birthday party shooting. A gunman opened fire at a birthday party in Colorado, slaying 6 adults before killing himself on Sunday. The shooting happened just after midnight in a mobile home park on the east side of Colorado Springs. Officers arrived at a trailer to find 6 dead adults and a man with serious injuries who died later at a hospital, the Colorado Springs Gazette reported. The suspected shooter was the boyfriend of a female victim at the party attended by the friends and family and children. He walked inside and opened fire before shooting himself, the police said. The birthday party was for one of the people who was also killed. A neighbor by the name Yenny Fayers told the Denver Post that she woke up to the sound of many gunshots and she thought that it was thunderstorms, but then she started hearing sirens. Police brought children out of the trailer and put them into at least one patrol car, adding that the children were crying hysterically. Authorities say the children who weren't hurt in the attack have been placed with relatives. Police on Sunday hadn't realized the identities of the shooter or victims. Authorities say a motive wasn't immediately known. It was Colorado's worst mass shooting since a gunman killed 10 people at a Boulder supermarket on March 22nd. The tragic shootings in Colorado Springs is devastating, the Governor Jared Polis said on Sunday, especially as many of us are spending the day celebrating women in our lives who have made us the people that we are today. Colorado Springs population, 465,000, is Colorado's second biggest city after Denver. In 2015, a man shot 3 people to death at random before dying in a shootout with the police in Colorado Springs on Halloween. Less than a month later, a man killed 3 people, including a police officer, and injured 8 others in a shooting at a Planned Parenthood clinic in the city. Rockets are fired from Gaza after major clashes. Rockets have been fired towards Jerusalem from Gaza amid spiraling tensions between Israel and the Palestinians. No injuries were reported, though Israel's parliament was evacuated as sirens sounded. Gaza's Hamas rulers had threatened to strike after hundreds of Palestinians were injured in clashes with Israeli police on Monday. The past few days have seen the worst violence in the city for years. More than 300 Palestinians were wounded in the confrontation with Israeli police outside the Al-Aqsa Mosque in East Israel. Later, in a march by Israeli nationalists, which was due to pass through Muslim areas of East Israel's old city, was rerouted as it could stoke unrest. The Jerusalem Day event marks Israel's capture of East Jerusalem, home of the old city and its holy cities, in 1967, and usually sees hundreds of flag-waving Israeli youth making their way through the Muslim quarter via Damascus Gate, chanting and singing patriotic songs. It is regarded by many Palestinians as a deliberate provocation. This year's march is also taking place in the final days of the Islamic holy month of Ramadan. The latest violence follows days of clashes between Palestinians and Israeli police in the nearby Sheikh Jarrah district of East Jerusalem, with the possible eviction of Palestinian families from their homes there by Jewish settlers, a focal point for Palestinians' anger. Israel's Supreme Court has been due to hold a hearing in the long-running case on Monday, but the session was postponed due to the trouble that was caused. South Africa picks up the first cases of coronavirus variant from India. South Africa's health ministry said on Saturday it had detected the first 4 cases of a new coronavirus variant that emerged in India and was responsible for a surge of infections and deaths in the Asian country. Testing had also picked up 11 cases of the variant B.1.1.7, first detected in the UK, the health ministry said in a statement. The Network for Genomic Surveillance in South Africa confirmed that 2 variants of the concern, other than the B.1.351 already dominating the South Africa, have been detected. The 4 positive cases were detected in Gauteng and KwaZulu-Natal provinces, and all had a history of travel to India, which on Saturday recorded its highest ever single-day COVID-19 death toll of 4,187 fatalities. Of the 11 people infected with the UK variant, 8 were found in the Western Cape, Mkhize said, adding that B.1.1.7 strain was detected in community samples, that this suggested community transmission had already set in. Africa's worst hit country in terms of infections and fatalities, South Africa's second wave was driven by its own variant that quickly dominated infections countrywide. South Africa has ordered tens of millions of vaccine doses from Johnson & Johnson and Pfizer as it looks to ramp up its slow mass vaccination campaign, with only 480 frontline health workers inoculated out of the population of 60 million people. A Houston woman who was nearing the start of army enlistment went missing in Lake Conroe. One of the victims, presumed to have drowned in Lake Conroe Friday evening, was preparing to serve in the U.S. military, one family told ABC 13. According to the brother of the 26-year-old, Peragie had enlisted in the army and was enjoying her last week before boot camp when this tragedy happened. Witnesses told police that they saw a group of people rent a pontoon on Friday before seeing a woman now identified as Peragie fall overboard that same watercraft. They said her boyfriend, 24-year-old Adrian, jumped in to save her and neither resurfaced. The couple had been on the boat with 3 others enjoying the sunset, authorities said. A third person also jumped in to help them when the 2 began to struggle in the water in the Ayers Island area. The search resumed on Monday after being hampered over the weekend due to rough waves. Peragie's family said that they are from Tanzania and moved to Houston in 2007. Authorities also said they received a second rescue call for a capsized vessel while they were out trying to locate the couple. Crews split up and were able to find the boaters from the capsized vessel, according to the post by Montgomery County Judge Mark Koch on Facebook. They were taken to a Texas game warden's vessel when brought to shore. Koch said the boaters were not wearing life jackets despite having them available on board. Investigators say they discovered that no one on the boat knew how to swim. And that brings us to the end of the news segment today. It's been nice having you watch the news today. If you liked it, drop your like, leave your comments, and do not forget to share the video. I'm looking forward to seeing you again next week. Same place, same time. I have been your host for today, Jay Nguyen.